Going live. Okay. Good morning or afternoon, and I'm running late, so y'all forgive me, please. I wanted to be on time. I have so much going on today. Um, but I wanted to, because I wanted to come here and get with y'all, so we can talk today. Today we'll be talking about impulsivity, right? We've all struggled a time or two, if not currently, if not forever, with impulsivity. It is like a sometimes it can feel ongoing, sometimes it can feel like uh intermittent, sometimes it can feel like in the heat of passion, sometimes it can be more present in your some emotional spaces than other, or be more prevalent, maybe that's a better word to use. So let's be clear about impulsivity, right? What does that mean? You can be impulsive um just about any and everything, right? So we're going to get into this whole talk. Before we do, I want to shout out Coily and Clay for my dope ass earrings. Coily and Clay. Um, Black owned earring maker. She's fantastic. I've worn a few pieces of hers before. I absolutely love them. Um, Cray. We all about that shit today. Just trying to get with some dope ass black owned businesses and like really be supportive. So I just wanted to shout her out because she does beautiful work. As a total side note, for those of you who haven't checked out my podcast, make sure you check out Take This Shit Personal on iTunes, all of the cool podcasting places. It's all there. Also, if you haven't gotten your books, please do. Finding Me and the Couples Interactive Journal. You can gift it, right? For birthdays, for Mother's Day. Do your thing. It's on our website, the Mahogany Project, projek.com. All right, let's go ahead with this conversation. So, impulsivity, right? What does it mean to act without forethought? What does it mean to act on a whim? What does it mean to um, be more reactive? The way that I kind of explain it or process it in some ways is being more reactive than productive in the beginning. And it's a word for it. It's totally eluding me right now. Proactive, that's the word. So I think of impulsivity as this. I notice it with a lot of folks that struggle with addiction, right? Or we have folks who struggle with ADD or ADHD, and even folks who don't. How often do you get in the store and you're like, yeah, I need this thing, and then you get home and you feel guilty, like, damn, I spent money I didn't even have, bruh. Or I went and bought this, I didn't even need this, I have 4 of these. Just being in the store, the whole like rush and excitement, compels you and become very impulsive, right? I think of like with relationships where people become extremely impulsive, and it's motivated by their emotional space, right? So say that I'm, extremely excited or I'm passionate, or I think of like, and we're gonna get a little interesting now. But I think of like people be in the middle of making, like, maybe it may not be passionate love, but it sure feels like it. And you agree to do some shit, or you let some shit rock, or you're feeling the connection and you have unprotected sex and it results in a child or STD or something long term, right? Impulsive. How often are we thinking through these decisions? And then you, after the fact, the remorse, the guilt, all of these feelings that are trying to compensate for this decision you made quickly, right? Quickly, quick decision. I think of impulsivity as like, sometimes being impulsive can be beneficial. And I'm not saying that it can't. Let's say you're at Disneyland and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to do this. If I overthink it, I won't do it. I'm going to go ride this ride, right? That level of impulsivity may not be detrimental to you. The level of impulsivity that we're talking about today is the impulsive choices we make that have long-term consequences, right? Especially when the consequences far outweigh the reward. Immediately or in the moment, of course, the rewards would outweigh the consequences. We do impulsive things, but they allude to two things: something we feel comfortable and safe with, and something we deem to have a reward at that moment. And we may see that reward as far outweighing whatever potential consequences can come. But most times we don't think through it that far. We're just kind of like, okay, let's go ahead and do this now. I think of emotional eating, right? How many of us have struggled with, like, oh, I'm sad today, let's go get me my favorite ice cream, or oh, I'm sad today, I want to eat some comforting food, or oh, I'm so excited, let's go out to dinner. Like, how often do we comfort ourselves with food, and then we don't understand people struggle with addictions to food, or anorexia, or bulimia? We don't understand that, especially when food has been so integrated into the way we emotionally connect with ourselves and with others, right? Impulsivity. So a lot of times impulsivity lends to what we already feel comfortable with and what's natural to us, right? Okay, cool. And it can also lend to a need. So I think of, let's say you have the woman who meets a guy and they're like, okay, we're going to meet or whatever. If her priority and her need is feeling intimacy or feeling some kind of desire, feeling desired, and this guy is showing that to her and that's a priority, and he says, hey, well, let's have sex, or okay, maybe I'll do this, and I'm making this decision, it may not be as impulsive. I would consider it impulsive simply because if possibly she could have slowed down to reprioritize, okay, is his desire for me more important than my safety, more important than me investing in relationships that make sense for me? If she allowed herself more time to process that, then it could be different. I think of the guy who gets in the battle of the guys that get in battles of the ego, right? This guy, think of like a road rage. Man, this dude cut me off. I'm getting out of this car and I'm going to kick his ass. Like on Kid and Play, I'm going to kick his fucking ass. I love that part, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, so he gets out of the car. He's about to whoop his ass. And it's like, in that moment, yeah, you could do that and go to jail, but why? Like, are you that angry? Is your anger able to control you that much where it alludes to the space where you act in violence that have potential consequences that you can't bounce back from? How do we get to those spaces? So 5 tips. We're going to make it really quick because I actually started later today with y'all. I really wanted to start earlier. That was my intention. We're going to go through 5 tips. Number 5. Slow the fuck down. Okay? Slow the F down. We are our own pressure. We create these narratives around time and expectations. And now I'm not saying that we don't ever have to be somewhere. There are not things that we have to do in a particular time or place. I am, however, saying that we are in control on how we prepare and how we react to that. We are in control of some of the parameters and time and spaces we set for ourselves. So with that, I say slow the F down. Consider what it is that you need, what your priorities are, why your priorities are arranged the way that they are, and are they working in your best benefit? We don't always have time to delve into the deep. Why do I prioritize this, my self-esteem, or this, but that? We don't always have time for that, especially when we're trying to make decisions on a daily basis. We don't always have time, right? And we also have to consider what we have to replace it. So, for example, if I'm someone who says, oh, I'm so sad, let me go get some ice cream. Let me go get my pint. If I don't go get my pint of ice cream, what else am I going to do? Maybe I'll go exercising. Maybe I'll hang out with my family. Maybe I'll write in my journal. Maybe I'll meditate. Maybe, what am I going to do to replace it? Because something has to be there. All right. So number 5 was slow down. Number 4, and I kind of did some of this in the last one, but consider that you have control to not be impulsive. That sounds like, should I really? Yes. Consider that although I'm going to make this decision at a moment's notice, I can make a thoughtful decision. Impulsivity doesn't have to result in long-term negative consequences, right? And we also have to weigh. So that's number 3. I would say weigh the pros and cons. Right now, this would feel really, really good to me. But in 5 minutes, an hour, and 2 hours a day, am I going to feel guilty, remorseful, etc.? And if that is the case, step away. Number 2, what do I have to lose? Consider what you have to lose. People will make decisions based on their own narratives, perspectives, experiences, and possessions, like their time and energy and space. What do they have to lose? Number 1, I would say with impulsivity is allowing yourself the time to make a different decision. So that kind of goes along with slow the fuck down, but that more so speaks to giving yourself permission to do something different and embrace the fear and anxiety that comes with doing something out of the norm. What does that mean? If you act out of impulsivity more regularly, there can be a fear or angst around doing something different, right? Embrace it, move forward through it, and allow yourself the opportunity to see that it's going to be okay. This is the thing. What usually gets us in trouble is if we are running from the feeling, if we are running from the feeling of like angst and anxiety, if we are trying to fall into the impulsivity of it simply because we're trying to get away from what it feels like to be anxious or uncomfortable, and with change it requires all those things. So embrace it, fall into it, I let it happen. One of the things that I said to my client last week was like, and all of this effort you've put into avoiding your angst and your fear, have you not considered that that's created more power behind your fear? Not because it's validated that your fear in the factual sense, it didn't validate it, but you're validating your fear by running away from it because you're considering and continuing to repeat this idea that you have a reason to be afraid. You have a reason to run away. You have a reason to not move forward through your anxiety and make a different decision. Making a different decision is more than just saying, today, okay, I'm going to do this. It's allowing yourself to feel your feelings, make the decision, and move forward through that. Accepting it, but also like experiencing it. Okay, maybe today I'm sad. I don't go get a bucket of ice cream. I'll go walk around a trail. I'll go sit outside with nature. I go fish. I go, talk to my plants. I go, jogging. I go knit. I go ... You fill in the blanks. But I think it absolutely requires us to make some different decisions. Slow the fuck down. Be thoughtful about your fear and lean into that. Your angst, lean into it. There are some times when fear and anxiety can keep us safe, and there were some times when fear and anxiety can keep us from moving to the next step. Both of those scenarios are relevant. So figure out what spaces you allow your fear and angst, and your uncomfortable space to control your decisions. Because impulsivity is still a decision. Acting impulsively is still a decision. We're still making a decision, even though we're allowing very little time or space to think through and be strategic and thoughtful. We're still making a decision. That's the part that I see people struggle with so much, is like, well, I just did this. I didn't really think through it. Well, you made a clear decision. You made a decision, even though You may not want to own that a decision was made. So, acting impulsively. Those were 5 tips to manage impulsivity. 5. The other part to this is it takes time, y'all. Be patient with yourselves. Allow yourselves the opportunity to grow, right? And growing requires watering, it requires sunlight. It requires the social experience. It requires you to go through the process and the steps. It's not an all in one and done scenario. It doesn't work like that. You have to eventually prove to yourself that it's worth doing. It's worth slowing the fuck down. It's worth leaning into your fear. You have to have the validation that it makes sense. So be invested in the practice, right? Be invested in the opportunity to live through it and then see what happens. See what happens. What do you have to lose? That is a real question. What do you have to lose? And is it working for you? You know, sometimes when I'm feeling or thinking that with clients, I get to a point of like, what are we doing? I just ask, like, is this working for you? And if, do you want to continue to do it? Because if you do, then this conversation may be a bit unproductive. But if you don't, then we can get somewhere. You just have to also determine how much you're willing to invest. You know, how much you're willing to commit to, because, you know, you have to work the hardest on doing this. It's not anyone else's responsibility to do this for you as far as like change and growth and management of your feelings and your behavior. That's on you. So I hope not for nothing that y'all took away some quick tips. Nothing, I don't want to make it long and drawn out. I do hope you enjoyed this today. We're gonna still, of course, be doing more lives. I was supposed to just be doing a podcast, but being able to stream is really flexible and cool. So we're gonna try to ride this out as much as I can ride this out. But I thank y'all for tuning in today. Do y'all have any questions for me? Is there anything you want to know? Any questions you had about anything I said today? I hope that it was clear, it was concise for you all, it wasn't confusing. Please, I'm always open to feedback. And I will say this, you know, if you are in relations with someone who struggles with impulsivity issues, that can be everything from working with ADD, ADHD to bipolar 1 or 2 to someone struggling with like being in their space of mania to even depression, you know, anxiety, making impulsive decisions. Impulsivity can just be a part of what their struggle is. So try to see past that to support them if you can. So that's just a side note. But I really appreciate y'all coming on with me today. I really, really enjoy these kinds of conversations we get to have. And not for nothing, share, like, subscribe to my YouTube page at The Barefoot Therapist. Tell your friends, tell your friends, tell your friends. I'll see you later. Peace.